Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and I'm just sitting here drinking my morning coffee. Looking sexy as hell as usual. For those of you who say I don't look sexy as hell when I do these videos drinking my coffee, nobody cares what you think. I didn't ask you. Alright, let's talk a little bit about the training maxes I'm doing on squats and deadlifts at the moment. Because I think it's an important thing to talk about, because I think I've made it clear to people right now my training really isn't powerlifting, it is bodybuilding. I am training almost exclusively for physique for now until my physique gets caught up to where my strength was. Okay, again, leaner, better proportions, more muscle, bigger arms, all that stuff. But I am doing the training maxes at the moment on the squats and deadlifts, and one of the things that needs to be said here. Number one, it's an evidence-based approach, but I also want to talk about it from a coaching perspective. So people will notice these are not maxes. In other words, they are maybe what my current maxes would be, maybe 90%. All right, I mean, I think even yesterday I came and just pulled an easy 525 deadlift. That's probably less than 90% of my current max, because I haven't been doing any heavy pulling. My max may not be over 600. I could have it back over 600 really fast in a couple weeks if I wanted. But maybe it's maybe 90%. Might even be a little less. But as long as I'm above 85%, I don't care. So this is an example. So why do this? And why singles? Let's talk about the singles for a moment. Generally speaking, in my experience as a coach, I see most strains in about the 3 to 7 rep range. Okay, and I do some stuff there, but a lot of times I take it back away from clients very quickly, and some of my guys are learning this. The second I see them missing reps, grinding stuff, we have to have a talk about that, because we can't be grinding reps in that rep range. They need to be clean. Like if I tell them do it this weight, whatever, 315, do it to 1 rep in reserve. I don't want to see a grinder. I don't want to see their form break down. This is where people get hurt. This is a dangerous rep range. Like I will say, I have seen, and I agree with Dave Tate on this, I've seen Dave Tate say the same thing. This is where your injuries occur. Injuries rarely happen with 1 rep, even with a max. It's actually very, very, very rare. Unless something goes really wrong, bad drug combinations. So this rep range also beats you up on peak sets. If you're not careful, you have to manage fatigue quite a bit. On singles, it's much safer, number one. Number two, because we are working singles, we are practicing getting a 1 rep max in. All right, and what people need to remember, and this is very hard to get male lifters to understand. I will talk to people all day long, and there's a point where as a coach, I just get tired of telling them. Guys they miss lifts, they grind lifts when I assign them training maxes, or I give them the weight themselves and they add 50 pounds to it. All right, and then they complain that their recovery is messed up for a week. It's like, well, I don't know why you didn't just do 450, because I really wanted to try 500 to get a lifetime PR. Okay, but I had 450 pounds written down. It's on your sheet. So why is that? Because the carryover is the same. In other words, 90% of what you're going to hit at a competition, if you can do it clean over and over and over, and you've built the strength to do that weight, you can do it at the competition. Right? In other words, if I build a lifter to where 500 pounds on a lift, I don't care what the lift is, squat, bench, deadlift, overhead, press, curl. Yeah, 500 pound curl. It doesn't matter. So let's just call it 500 pounds. All right. Do I need to ever lift 500 pounds to have carryover? Of course not. 450 will get them there all day long. Most top coaches agree on this, by the way. If we have built the musculature to lift 500 pounds, you have the physical capability structurally, the quads, hamstrings, triceps, whatever, and we do 450 for singles regularly, when you're psyched up and ready to do the 500, you will walk in and knock it right out. The difference is the 450 still recruits all the highest threshold motor units. We could argue in advanced lifters anything over 85%. So technically 425 if your max is 500, right? Right? But everyone agrees 90% it will occur. Experts, researchers, all the most muscle fibers and motor units will be recruited just like on a 1 rep max, but it will be smoother and faster. It gives you perfect practice under a heavy load where you won't have to grind, where everything moves fast. It builds confidence and it builds the technique and the neural drive to lift the 100% later. It gives you all the training you need. In other words, there's probably no benefit. So if your max is 500, there's probably no benefit to you doing more than 450 in training. There's nothing other than your ego. All right. So, and again, we could make the argument for 425 or 430. Think 85% plus. All right. The other thing, by doing this, again, I get to practice some technique. I'm not beating myself up on these axial lifts. And it gives me a metric of where my strength is by how light those training maxes feel. All right, the other thing, evidence-based stuff. So because I'm doing those, the data shows that doing, say, your 10 rep sets and stuff after a moderately heavy single around 90%, performance is better. In other words, if performance goes down, you went too heavy. You did a max, not a training max. But a training max like that, and the lab has showed that it attenuates muscle fiber recruitment on subsequent sets in the same muscles. Okay? Is that worth muscle growth? We don't know. Could we speculate that it might be worth muscle growth? Yes, as long as it's not beating up recovery. But we come back over to that point. If your max is 500 and you do 430 to 450 for 1 rep, does it impact recovery? Probably not. Probably less than an isolation movement to failure. So by doing it this way, doesn't impact my recovery. I can keep my squat and deadlift strength going back up as I gain muscle again in the right areas, right? So that when I need to hit them, I can. And I've done this with clients. I mean, you guys saw me do it. Remember the charity event? I didn't pull anything over 570, right? Nothing over 570 for 6 months. Walked in and just ripped 625 off the floor. Okay? Context. My lifter, Perry, I coached him for a long time. People saw me have him do squats, walk over and casually squat 600, 610, 615, right? He dropped out because coaching was getting expensive, and then he walked into and did a meet. All right, I want people to keep in mind, you never saw me put up more than a 425 bench from him. We routinely did 405 for singles. You never saw anything over a 615 squat. What do you guys think? He walked in a competition and did 6 weeks. 6 weeks after. 680 squat, raw, no wraps, 450 bench press. Okay. I never had him touch more than 615 on a squat in training. Hit 680. Never benched over 425, usually 405. Hit 450. Those pretty close to 90%, give or take. Yeah. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.